Hey, it's me, another olive oil video. Let's dive in. As you probably already know, my favorite condiment in the whole world is olive oil. Not only does it taste good, it's medicinal, but it actually enhances the flavor of anything you put it on. In fact, they've studied this. They determined that olive oil in pesto sauce, for example, actually magnifies the flavor of the basil in the pesto sauce by 10 times. That's 1,000%. So I like to put it on just about anything. Obviously pasta dishes, eggs, I put it on a soup. If I was a meat eater, I would definitely drizzle it on a steak, and that'll bring out and enhance the flavors of that steak. Certainly fish dishes. If I was having a burrito and the burrito was really bland, I would put olive oil on it, and I guarantee you the burrito would taste way better. The best oils you can get are the ones that are early harvested. Early harvested means that they are actually harvesting the olives before they are completely ripe. This is the exact opposite of the agribusinesses, which I talked about in my last video, where they actually let the olives get so overripe that they fall down off the tree onto the ground and rot. Early harvested means that they are harvesting sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks before the olive is completely mature. And the reason is that the antioxidants, the tannins, the tocopherol, all of the medicinal properties of the olive are going to be much greater at that point. So the olive oil is going to be much higher quality. As a result, when they harvest early, they're going to get less oil because the olive isn't completely mature. So that makes the olive oil actually more expensive. In fact, a recent study from Aristotle University in Greece determined that early harvested olive oil protected long-term against mild cognitive impairment, MCI, which is a precursor to Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. Their control group was the early harvested oil compared to just regular olive oil, i.e. lamp oil, garbage, rubbish oils that make up, as I said in my last video, 82% of all of the olive oil worldwide. Generally, you get what you pay for with olive oil. Costco, oh my God. I can't tell you how many people keep asking me about getting oil from Costco. In fact, in my last video, many of the olive oils that I was showing as examples of chemically refined lamp oil, absolute rubbish, were actually shot at Costco. Costco right now has an olive oil from California. It's 100% estate grown, milled and bottled. It's from the central part of California, the Cuyama Valley. It lists the acidity level at 0.3 maximum. That's incredibly low. Everything about this oil looks good, so of course I bought it. It's $10 a liter, which is very, very cheap. I smelled it. It smelled grassy, fresh. It's slightly peppery, a little bit green. Then it hit me. An absolute wash of rancidity. This stuff is so bad, it's so rancid. It's the most disgusting oil I've had in quite some time. And it's recently been harvested, so I don't know what they did to it, which proves the point that sometimes an olive oil might look good on the bottle. It might have all of the specs, great, but really the proof is in the tasting. I know there are articles, tests, and studies that came out determining that the olive oil at Costco is actually 100% authentic or is 100% olive. That doesn't mean anything, actually. Just because it's from olives doesn't mean that the oil wasn't chemically refined. It doesn't mean that the olives weren't rancid. It doesn't mean that they weren't properly harvested. It doesn't mean that they weren't sprayed and injected with artificial coloring and flavoring and all of that. If you want to go a cheaper, a more affordable route, I definitely would not go to Costco. I would recommend going to Trader Joe's and getting Novello. I talked about it in my last video. This is only $12 a liter. When you're tasting something like Novello, you're going to get a bitterness, a spicy, peppery flavor. Maybe a hint of grass or green, but for the most part, it's not going to be nearly as nuanced as a high quality oil. Where can I get these really high quality oils that you spoke about? Bellucci you can find at Sprouts. You can find it at any independent health food store. You certainly can find it at Whole Foods. In fact, recently I was able to get a Toscano Organic from Bellucci on sale for $12.50. That's a half a liter for $12.50. So that's double the price of Novello, but well worth it to me. Is it twice the oil? Yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely twice the quality of oil of Novello. I would not use this to cook with. One of my favorite olive oils in the world for the money is De Carlo, and you can find De Carlo at Italy. Italy has locations in Boston, in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles. I absolutely love De Carlo. If it says organic, does it mean that the olive oil is good? No, it actually doesn't. In most cases, it will mean that the olive oil is good, like Bellucci, for instance. This is a very high quality oil that you can find pretty easily in the United States. However, there are many agribusiness lamp oils that are organic. In fact, the olives might have been organic, but it doesn't mean that they were harvested properly. It doesn't mean that it was processed mechanically. In fact, you can see it here. This is absolute rubbish. This is a Bertolli organic. This stuff isn't even the right color. I mean, it's completely chemically refined, but it is organic. Here's another example of an organic lamp oil from Trader Joe's. Just because it's organic doesn't mean that it's necessarily good. What does lamp oil taste like? Well, lamp oil predominantly tastes greasy. It just tastes like nothing. It tastes oily. It just it tastes dead. Okay. Sometimes, as I mentioned in my last video, a lamp oil will have a ever so slightly peppery, spicy flavor at the end, at the finish. The difference is it's going to be very faint, and it's not going to have a crescendo. It's not going to have, like when you're having a hot chili pepper or when you're having something like this, it's going to have like, oh my God, the pepper it kind of comes on upon you gradually, and then it builds to this crescendo, and then it'll settle back down. With a lamp oil, you're not going to get any of that. A really good medicinal olive oil is going to taste alive. It's going to, in fact, be alive. It's fresh fruit juice. It's going to have this, oh my God, what have I been like the first time I had a Neapolitan pizza? It's the same thing. A Neapolitan pizza tastes alive. It tastes fresh. In fact, it is. It's only cooked 90 seconds. The same thing with a medicinal olive oil. You're going to get grassiness. You're going to get spiciness. You're going to get pepper. Sometimes you'll get a little bitter. Sometimes you will get flavors of almond or nuts. You'll get fruitiness. You'll get lemon, all kinds of things like that. A lamp oil is never, ever going to have any of that. The other thing I would recommend, buy DOP or DOP, which means Protected Destination of Origin. What this means is that this certain varietal of olive can only grow in this certain specific zone in Italy. It's like Champagne in France. It's like the San Marzano tomato, for instance, which you will see in my film. The San Marzano tomato can only grow, and you can only call it DOP San Marzano if it is grown and harvested, cultivated in that one specific area of Italy. So it's very special. It's a very unique flavor at times, and it's a varietal that they're keeping alive. Essentially, it's an indigenous varietal that is only grown in that one area. There are DOP varietals in Sardinia, which I've had. The Fodi is fantastic. That's an example of olive that is only grown and only comes from that one area in Sardinia. But they're all over Italy. They're in Sicily, they're in Umbria and Toscana, whatever. The other really cool thing about DOP is that to be DOP, the acidity level cannot exceed 0.5%. So this is another indication that the oil is going to be high quality because it's going to be low in acidity. And you're also highly likely to be supporting a local small farmer, a small estate, somebody who's cultivating and keeping alive the varietal of this specific olive. It's really, really cool. The ranch that you will see in my film, Pornanino in Chianti, actually uses a mechanical process to extract the oil from the olive. This is, of course, the best way to do it. This is what you want to look for in a high quality early harvested olive oil. In fact, at Pornonino, they're actually using a stone grinding wheel to make the paste from the olives, compared to an oil that you will find at Costco, for example, or all the big name brands that I told you to avoid in my last video. They're using chemical means. They're using a chemical process to extract as much oil as they can from the olive. In fact, they're also using heat extraction. Not only does the heat extraction damage the medicinal properties of the oil, but it actually, in some cases, will make it rancid. And then they have to go back and deodorize the oil and lower the acidity level of it to be below 0.8%, to call it extra virgin. If it says extra virgin, does that mean that the oil is good? No, definitely not. In fact, most of the agribusinesses, most of the lamp oil producers, the big name brands, they are making oil that is technically, or at least legally, called extra virgin. And the reason is this: there are two main criteria to meet the extra virgin categorization legally. The first one is the oil has to be the first pressing of those olives. Well, with a really good oil like Pornonino or any of the others that I'm recommending, the olives are so well cared for that they use the first and only pressing of those olives, no question. With lamp oil producers, big agribusinesses, yes, they are using the oil from the first pressing of those olives, which happen to be rancid, which happen to be rotten, which happen to have bugs, insects, and dirt mixed in, okay? But it is legally extra virgin because it's the first pressing. Which leads me to the second criteria, which is the oil from the first pressing of those olives, whether they're rotten or high quality olives, the oil has to be below 0.8% acidity level to be technically and legally extra virgin. Well, with a really good ranch, like Pornonino or any of the other good olive oils that I'm recommending, of course, it's easy. The acidity is somewhere between 0.3 and 0.5%. Not a problem. With agribusinesses' rancid first pressing oil, this rotten, it's much higher than 0.8% acidity. In fact, it's rubbish. You cannot eat it. It'll make you ill. So to make it fit for human consumption and also to meet the extra virgin requirement, they have to chemically refine the olive oil. They have to lower the acidity. They have to deodorize the oil to bring down the acidity below 0.8%. And this is how they are technically and legally allowed to call this rubbish oil extra virgin. This is how they are getting away with it. It is technically and legally extra virgin. However, the oil is dead. It's tasteless, it's lifeless, it has no medicinal properties whatsoever. So, all really good olive oils are extra virgin, but all extra virgin olive oils are not good. What should I expect to pay for this high quality olive oil? Generally expect to pay minimum $30 per liter. How do I like to taste a high quality olive oil? Well, as you saw in my last video, how I like to taste it is to do this. But my favorite way actually is to use a shot glass. That way I'm able to sense the aroma, the nose, the perfume of the oil before I even taste it, like a wine. And I'm able to experience the full journey, as I would say, of the olive oil. You get the start, you get the approach, you get the full body, you are able to taste the nuances of the oil that way rather than just using a piece of bread or even a spoon. Really good high quality olive oil like Bellucci, for instance, like De Carlo, like any of the other ones in my last video. They're using a spout that actually restricts the flow of the oil out of the spout so you don't pour too much. That's another good indication that it's a high quality olive oil, that they're actually using a highfalutin spout. Are monovarietals bad? No, definitely not. In fact, I've had some incredible oils from Spain, from Italy certainly, that were monovarietals, that were only from one type of olive. What I was referring to in my last video was the California olive oils. Many of them are only using one type of varietal, the Arbequina. Not all of them are, but many of them are. And I find this varietal to be somewhat flat, not very interesting, not as flavorful as other types of olives. One of the reasons why I think they're using the Arbequina olive, besides history, when the Spaniards came into California, is also because the Arbequina varietal has a higher yield than other varietals. So you're going to get more oil, you're going to make more money, and it's going to be cheaper to produce. There is no doubt there are some really good olive oils in California. My two favorites being McAvoy Ranch from Petaluma and Barriani. Very good oils indeed. However, generally I tend to prefer Italian olive oils for a couple of reasons. One of which is Italy has such a wide range, such a diversity of flavors. For instance, if you have an olive oil from Liguria, which is up in the northwestern part of Italy, the oils, because of the terroir there, because of the weather, they tend to be a bit lighter, a bit more delicate. Not to say they aren't flavorful, but they're not overpowering. So they go very well with a fish dish, for instance. Whereas in Puglia, which is in the south, the oils tend to be very big, very strong, very heavy in some ways, which is good for other things as well. So there's just a wide range. The other reason is you get the DOP factor, which I happen to like very much. The other big reason why everything in Italy tastes so good, all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the food generally, is because the soil. Italy is generally volcanic. Most of the country has volcanic soil, and in this volcanic soil, as you will see in my film at the San Marzano tomato farm, it's right outside of Naples near Mount Vesuvio, and that is dark, black volcanic soil, which contains a tremendous amount of potassium. It's the potassium which gives the flavor to all the fruits and vegetables. In fact, you'll see it in the wheat harvest in my film. That soil is also volcanic as well. This is the main reason why everything in Italy tastes so good, not to mention the traditional farming practices, all of the culture that goes along with it, all the small varietals that they're using, and the fact that they are harvesting and putting so much care, love, and devotion into their products. The three biggest enemies of olive oil are light, heat, and air. I've seen people keep their olive oil stored next to their stove with the cap off, or with one of those easy pour spouts for weeks, if not months. To me, that's absolute insanity. In fact, every time I'm finished using the olive oil, I immediately put the cap back on, because you don't want the air to get inside the bottle, because that's going to further the oxidation process and shorten the quality and the longevity of your oil. So be sure to store your olive oil sealed in a cool, dark place at all times. All right, I hope this cleared up some things. I hope it answered some questions. Please like the video, please share it, subscribe if you will, and I will see you next time around. Ciao for now.